So, who do you think was the first United States astronaut to go into space? Who do you think it was? You think it was Neil Armstrong or Buzz Aldrin? If you were thinking those names, you are wrong. Just like I was thinking, I thought it was Neil Armstrong. I know he's the first man who set foot on the moon. I thought he was the first American, because I know that the Russian cosmonauts went into space first before the Americans. But the first American man in space, you would assume, would be the first American man who set foot on the moon. But no, it wasn't. So if you want to find out, keep watching, guys. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Antônio Francisco. If you're a subscriber, thanks for your support. If you're a returning visitor, I appreciate you dropping by once again. Why not subscribe so that you receive updates of my video uploads? If you're here for the first time, welcome to my channel, where I discuss events that happened on this day. Obviously, I can't discuss every event that happened today, but events of historical importance, events that should make us stop and think, especially the negative ones. When we see history beginning to repeat itself, we can try and stop that from happening collectively. Obviously, it's not one person's effort. Okay, so let's get cracking. Let's get started, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. So on this day, the year was 1477. William Caxton, pictured here, a pioneering English printer, published what's called Dictes and Sayenges of Philosophers. So I shall show you. Picture has been revealed. The interesting thing about the spelling was of the title of this book. Sayings is spelled S-A-Y-E-N-G-S and Philosophers is spelled with a Y. So Sayings, Dictes and Sayenges of the Philosophers. It's the first dated book printed in England, and the year again was 1477. The day, of course, the date was November 18th. So that's a picture of William Caxton and his first printing press, where the book Dictes and Sayenges of the Philosophers was published on this day in 1477. Now, this is an interesting one, controversial as well, not just because of the size of the building, but because, this is religion, which, it's a thorny subject amongst billions of people worldwide, really. So, St. Peter's Basilica, which is pictured here in Vatican City, was consecrated on this day in 1626. It is the second largest religious building in the world, or in Christendom. Okay, so now, let's dig in. Let's settle this once and for all. Well, maybe not settle it, but at least enlighten, those of you who may not know what's happening elsewhere in the world. Okay, so there is another basilica built pretty much to the same specifications. There are a few differences apart from the size. But this one here, I'll show you. This one here, my mistake. I'll go back to the other ones. So now this one is in a town called Yamoussoukro in Ivory Coast. Obviously, you can see that it's almost exactly a replica of St. Peter's Basilica. It's bigger. It has a capacity of 18,000 people underneath the dome, so inside the structure, the main structure. And then outside, it's said that it can take up to 300,000 people. I don't think it would be just the area with the two crescents. I think it's called the promenade. I'm assuming it to be the circle that the church, the land, so all the land area around the church, which is circular, as you can see from the picture. So that supposed to take up to 300,000 people. Okay, so this officially is the largest church building in the world, or perhaps Wikipedia or YouTube or wherever these facts are gotten from haven't updated their figures. But this picture here is a 100,000-seater church auditorium in the capital of Nigeria, Abuja. It's called Dunamis Church, or the Glory Dome. So again, it sits 100,000 people. Okay. The area is massive. I don't know officially. I didn't check that out. But the people who can be comfortably contained in this building is 100,000. So very likely this looks way bigger than the two previous cathedrals. Then there is this one as well, which supposedly holds up to 1 million people. I don't believe that. Incidentally, I don't believe that. But it's huge. It's huge. Hundreds of thousands, perhaps, maybe 250,000. This is a Redeemed Christian Church of God building in Lagos, Nigeria. Used to be a capital of Nigeria, the capital of Nigeria, until 1991 when it moved to Abuja. And then this building is in Port Harcourt, Nigeria. That's Nigeria's oil city, so where most of Nigeria's wealth comes from. There are 2 refineries in Port Harcourt. Port Harcourt is the second most important city in Nigeria. Well, you could arguably say it's the third most important, but economically, it's the second most important city in Nigeria. Politically, the third most important after Abuja and Lagos. So this church is called the Hand of God or Salvation Ministries. The pastor is Pastor David Ibie Omie. So this is his church nearing completion. It was scheduled to be completed in January this year, but I guess the COVID thing puts paid to that. So we'll keep an eye on that. This apparently has the projected capacity for this church is 120,000. Yes, okay, another church that's bigger than the other ones. And then I just threw this in because it's an absolutely beautiful concept. I don't think it was ever built. This was due to be completed in 2013 in Lagos. The capacity was 2,000 for this one. So it's a much smaller church, but I just thought I'd throw that in. It's absolutely beautiful. Okay, guys, let's move swiftly on. We'll go. This time it's an architect who was born on this day, 1814. He's also a sculptor. And his name, this is one of his sculptural pieces, his name is Aleijadinho, known for his beautiful Rococo statues and his churches. He died in Mariana on this day. So I'll show you a picture of him and then a few more works of his. So this is Aleijadinho, full name Antônio Francisco Lisboa. He was born circa 1730. He was also an architect, like I mentioned. He was a sculptor and an architect of Colonial Brazil, noted for his works and in various churches of Brazil. So we're talking church again. His works are considered some of the best examples of Portuguese colonial architecture in Brazil. So some of his works, so that's a church, this Rococo architecture, Church of São Francisco, Porto. Some of his his sculptural pieces as well, sculptor and architect, and that's the picture we started with. So it's all about churches today. Churches making history today, and architects, I guess, architects of churches and religious sculptures. Okay, 1905, on this day, known as Haakon VII, pictured here, he was elected King of Norway. He was known as Prince Charles of Denmark. He was elected King of Norway as Haakon VII on this day in 1905. First time I've heard that any king or queen was elected. Usually it's handed down from one generation to the other, but well, I guess in the case of Norway, this guy was elected to be King of Norway. He was a Prince of Denmark, which is quite interesting. So there's some connection between these Scandinavian countries and the monarchy, I guess. They can pass on from, the prince of one country can become a king of another. Anyway, so 1905 again on this day, Prince Charles or Prince Carl of Denmark was elected King of Norway as Haakon VII. Born on this day in 1923, Alan B. Shepard, pictured here. Some more pictures of him. I did mention him at the outset. I did allude to him, so I'm sure you've guessed it by now, but I'll show you some more pictures of him before I continue. So if you've guessed it right, Alan B. Shepard Jr. was the first astronaut to travel in space. He was born in New Hampshire on this day. Full name, Rear Admiral Alan Bartlett Shepard Jr., who died on the 21st of July 1998, was an American astronaut, naval aviator, test pilot, and businessman. In 1961, take note of that date because the first man on the moon got there in 1969. But in 1961, he became the first American to travel into space. And in 1971, he walked on the moon. So that's him with his doctor, smiling away or laughing away. Alan B. Shepard, painting of him. Picture, and then we'll go back to the one we started with, Apollo 14. Alan B. Shepard, again, the first US astronaut to travel in space. So take note of that name. It's not Buzz Aldrin, not Neil Armstrong, but it's Alan B. Shepard. 1959, on this day, the American dramatic film Ben-Hur, arguably the best of Hollywood's biblical epics, had its world premiere. It won an unprecedented 11 Academy Awards. So the premiere of Ben-Hur, starring Charlton Heston, premiered on this day in 1959. And some evil people caused a lot of pain to others who will be featured next. Hopefully we learn from history as well. Now, on this day, a man called Thomas Edwin, a member of the Ku Klux Klan, the picture in the middle, on this day he was convicted of the church bombing that killed 4 young black girls in Birmingham, Alabama. I'll show you some more pictures. So if you they're not that horrible, but just a caution for those who are sensitive to these things. They're not pictures of dead bodies, so don't worry about that. But yeah, I'm gonna show you the church building that they destroyed and the aftermath and everything. So first of all, that's Ku Klux Klan member Thomas Edwin Langton Jr., convicted on this day, like I said. And the aftermath of the bombing. Obviously, this was an African-American church, and he took 4 innocent lives, killed 4 innocent lives. I was going to say took 4 innocent lives with him, but yeah, he didn't die until not too long ago. So children and adults watching from a distance. One of the girls' bodies being put into an ambulance. See, debris. Why people would stoop so low to cause harm, it's just beggars belief. It says here the work of the original terrorists. Well, looks like this was the first major bombing anywhere in the world, apart from the bombs that were released in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The world has come into an era of, so these are the 4 girls again, and like the parents, relatives of the 4 girls who were killed. Yeah, last but not least, one of the 4 girls again being taken away, covered up. So again, this was the day that Thomas Edwin Langton Jr. was convicted. He was one of 4 murderers convicted on this day. And, it beggars belief that it took so long. Look at the 1977, Robert Chambliss was convicted of the murder. And then 2001, Thomas Blanton was convicted. 2001. Okay. Thomas Edwin Blanton. So that's the guy in the middle. 2002, Bobby Cherry was convicted. All of the suspects are now dead. It says there were 4 members. I don't know why there are 3 here. Anyway, it looks like I mixed up a few of my facts, but yeah. So in 2001, Thomas Blanton was convicted. 1963 was when it happened. So I don't know. There seems to be some discrepancy because some people or some areas where you go to on the internet where it says it happened in 1963, as in his conviction was in 1963. But here it says he was convicted in 2001. So don't know which is right. Go check it out. Do your research, guys. It's difficult to know what's what. But the point is that, this guy's murdered innocent. These were children who would cause no harm to anyone. Why didn't they take their lives themselves as well? They could have killed themselves as well. They were really men. You want to kill people, go kill yourself as well. And they were children, they were girls. Anyway, so that's the point I'm making. The fact that these guys did this thing, perpetrated this act, and it took so long for the law to catch up with them. It's just utter disgraceful. It's disgraceful. I'm just going to stop there. So let's move on now to the year 1978. Another sad event on this day, Jonestown massacre, again to do with church as well. So pictures. I didn't want to go into to show you other pictures as well because that made this cause a lot of distress to some of you. But if you look closely at the face of this picture, this illustration for this book, you can see bodies strewn across the church grounds, church in quote now, whatever. I think it was a camp where they were living. And then at the bottom, the church members, when they were alive, presumably, these are the people who are dead now, who died in 1978 on this day. So the title of the book is A New Look at Jonestown. Again, I'm mentioning the title because I appreciate that not everyone watching this may be able to see this. And the book is by U.C. Kwayana. So A New Look at Jonestown, Dimensions from a Guyanese Perspective. So it looks like, well, this was a cult for sure. The members were brainwashed and I think they poisoned themselves. Was it cyanide poisoning? I don't know the full story, Didn't really have the time to look into it. It's a bit distressing as well. But, just know that the Jonestown, the famous or infamous Jonestown massacre took place on this day. Their leader was Jim Jones, and leader of the People's Temple religious community that he formed in the 1950s. So this was the day that 909 of his followers died in Guyana in a massive act of murder-suicide known as the Jonestown massacre. Last but not least, also sadly, this man, New Zealand Rugby Union football player Jonah Lomu, who was perhaps rugby's first global icon, died of a heart attack at the age of 40 after a long battle with kidney disease. So sadly missed, I'm sure, by fans and foes alike, Jonah Lomu, who we lost on this day 5 years ago. On that sad note, guys, tales of massacres in church and the biggest church buildings in the world, and an architect who designed church buildings and was a sculptor as well. We have come to the end of today's Today in History. My name once again is Sotonye Afiesimama. Thanks for your support. Thanks for dropping by. I hope to see you tomorrow, November 19th, for another edition of Today in History. Thanks a lot. Stay safe. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.